Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon is a podcast which focuses on contemporary social and educational issues from an educational leadership and behavioral research perspective. We will delve into those issues that are important to you as we listen to understand the needs of others and positively respond to address those needs, concerns, and/or fears. Professionals in their respective fields of expertise, in addition to friends of the podcast, will share their unique perspectives of positive solutions to what matters to you most. Join us every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time, as we share positive solutions to those issues that are important to you.
Very pleasant good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon podcast channel. And today we're very fortunate to have with us none other than Izania Rosa from Island Therapy. Good afternoon, Izania. Thank you so much for being with us again today.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi, it's always a pleasure to have you sharing information with our listening and also our viewing audience. And the information that you do share is very beneficial. And today's topic is a very serious one. And without further ado, I'll let you go ahead and share with our listening and viewing audience about suicide prevention.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So before we begin, I always just like to give kind of like a trigger warning. So we both understand that this is not an easy topic to talk about. And if it becomes too much at any point, you can pause the video, take a step back, breathe, because it might hit really close to home. So when we're going into talking about suicide prevention, suicide awareness, we always like to talk about risk factors and protective factors. And so risk factors are pretty much those personal and environmental characteristics that are associated with an increased risk of suicide in this case. And then your protective factors are the things that do exactly that. They protect you from suicide or from feeling emotions that would lead you towards taking your life. And so some of each of those would be, sorry,
No, that's fine. And I promise Izani that I will stay silent as she presents the information because it is a very serious topic. And I appreciate Izani for letting individuals know if it's a bit too much, it's okay to pause, the recording, or not the recording, but pausing the channel and come back to it whenever you're ready to do so, or just turn it off. But because it might touch close to home, or you might see some or recognize some familiar patterns or signs that might send off some alarms. Pay close attention and get the help for that person or for yourself if necessary. So Isani's kind of like the teacher right now, and so I'm going to keep quiet and I'll just ask questions to follow up if needed, but for the most part, Isani will just give us some signs and symptoms and what to look for and what we can do to help others who might be struggling.
right. So there's pretty much a list of protective and risk factors, and we're going to go ahead and just go through those.
Sure.
So there's like history of substance abuse puts you at risk, physical disabilities or illness, losing a friend or family member to suicide actually does put you at risk as well. Constant and ongoing exposure to bullying, and this is especially prevalent in youth. Mental health conditions, a recent death of like a family member or a close friend, access to harmful means, and then relationship problems are actually huge risk factors that we see. And then obviously we have previous suicide attempts. Some other ones that are more personality based would be low self esteem, self mutilation, so like naturally kind of bringing yourself down. And then other more environmental factors would be ongoing financial issues, having uncertainty about sexual orientation, which is personality. There's situational crisis, and then physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. All of these things, all of these situations, personality traits put you at risk for having suicidal thoughts and ideations and maybe even attempts. But good thing is that we have protective factors, and studies actually show that your protective factors, for every one protective factor that you have, it gets rid of 4 risk factors.
Hmm. Can you say that again? That's interesting.
Yeah, so some studies have shown that for every one risk factor that you have, or one protective factor that you get rid of 4 risk factors,
Okay.
right? So
Someone
let's say
someone
that
might
you
be
have,
asking someone might be asking what is a protective factor or what does that
yeah,
look like?
yeah. So I was just about to get into that.
Okay.
So again, protective factors are the things that protect you. And those can be personality traits or environmental characteristics. And so one of them is having a good relationship with your parents and having other relationships as well, having friendships, having that social network. That's really important. Having a safe school, just that feeling safe in your learning environment, having close friends and other adults, and then overall resilience, just being a resilient person, having a safe neighborhood, and awareness of access to local health services, and then academic achievements actually are a huge one. Some more personality traits actually that put you in a protective state would be having problem solving skills, coping skills, high self esteem, an adaptive temperament, emotional intelligence, understanding your emotions, psychological well being, and positive mood, um, frequent, vigorous physical activity or participation in sports because, energy and all that good stuff needs to be let out. And when it does, you release endorphins, which are your feel good hormones.
Correct.
Having spiritual faith or going to church. So that's actually a great protective factor.
Like
Um,
belief systems that that person might have is also a very strong strengthening factor that assists that individual as well. Right.
yeah. Mhm. And then if you have just ongoing sense of hope in the face of adversities, that positivity, those are all personality traits and different factors that protect you against these. So let's say you are a very positive person, right? So that would be your protective factor. And let's say you have 4 different risk factors. Maybe you recently lost a family member, you have a mental health issue, you have had a previous attempt of suicide, and maybe you have gotten bullied multiple times. It's ongoing. But that one protective factor that you have automatically protects you against all 4 of those risk factors. So that's kind of how that stat works.
And I know in education, we focus a lot, and also at homes, parents tend to focus on building that child's self-efficacy or their self-esteem. And some people who may not understand might feel, oh, you're just trying to coddle that child or that student. Um, but no, we're building up that, and the terminology, I like the terminology that you use, the healthy aspect of that factor that puts them in a better position to deal with the other risk factors. And so building that self-efficacy, self-confidence, self-esteem within that child helps them to be able to cope with whatever challenges they might face. Environmental, as Zani has been sharing with us, or it could be internal, something that they might be going through, like a personality disorder, not knowing how they're feeling in the world around them. So having that strong foundation, whether it's in church, a spiritual belief in God, or having a family, or having a supportive network with friends and family who are supportive and trustworthy. All of those help to strengthen that inner person, that inner side of that person. Yeah. Same thing that Izani said, just I'm just rewording it in a different way for my understanding as well.
Yes. And so now we can probably talk about the warning signs that come with suicidal thoughts.
Right.
So the 3 big things that we tell people to keep an eye out for are changes in behaviors or new behaviors. And those would be things like substance use, drastic changes in personality that aren't just like a day or two, but last kind of like a longer period of time. And then depression like states. So then some more behavioral things that you might see would be isolation or like not communicating. You might see them giving away their possessions or writing a will. So for kids, that would be like giving away their favorite doll or something like that. Um, you might see reckless driving, increased aggression. Maybe you'll see them kind of fixated with the idea of suicide, maybe searching it on the web, talking about it maybe a little bit more. And then at some point you'll see them gathering materials, ways to do that. For verbal, they'll be talking about certain things. They'll talk about killing themselves, about their life having no purpose or feeling like a burden. They might feel stuck, right? Or not wanting to exist. And then in terms of emotions, there's going to be a lack of interest in activities that maybe they once really enjoyed. We'll see irritability, anger, anxiety, shame or humiliation, and then mood swings. So again, there's three things to look out for, which would be those changes in behaviors, right? Those drastic changes in personality, maybe a depressive state that lasts really long, and then possibly substance use. And then in terms of more signs that you'll see are going to be changes in the emotional state, what they talk about, so their verbal actions, and then the behavioral things that they do. And a great way that we actually tell people to how to remember it is, this is an acronym, so it's is, path, warn.
You're listening to the podcast Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon, which is uploaded weekly on Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, on your favorite podcast directory.
So we like to use the acronym is, path, warn. And so I in is would be ideation. So those the thoughts. S are substance. So if you see substance use or misuse. And then for path, P stands for purposelessness. So you'll see people thinking about how their life has no purpose. A is for anxiety. T is for trapped. And then H is for hopelessness. So feeling that things maybe aren't going to change or that they are hopeless. And then for warm, we'll see them withdraw from others. We'll see anger, recklessness, and then mood changes. So again, that's is, path, warm. It's a great way to just remember and identify different signs in people who may be suffering with or dealing with suicide thoughts or ideations.
Right. And thank you for that acronym. And so, of course, we'll have that listed down below so that folks can see it and then also follow and identify if someone might be going through that, or even for themselves as well. So these are our helpful tips to help individuals with suicidal ideation, and as parents, as teachers, as educators, or even as a really good friend. If you observe changes in a person's, personality, they're not acting quite the same as you know them to normally behave, then it's okay to start asking questions, having conversations in a non-judgmental way, and just having a regular conversation with that individual and see what information can be brought forth so that you can provide the assistance that's needed. And in case anyone might have those ideations, you may feel, oh, I'm so inept, I can't help someone, my friend or my child or whomever. Know that there are professionals out there. Again, if you're here locally on St. Croix, there's Island Therapy, and I don't know if Isani has a number that she can give to us for Island Therapy.
Yeah, so 340-719-7007 is the number for our office.
And the area code, of course, is 340. Don't believe you have to dial the area code, but someone who might be listening to this somewhere else might want additional information. And so calling that number, I'm sure whomever answers can also provide that information. And I believe we've also shared this on another episode where we had like a national suicide prevention lifeline number. And so that's a 1-800 number. So it's 1-800-273-8255. And in order to remember that number, there's also an acronym for that. So it's 1-800-273-TALK. And so, of course, talk is the 8255 number. And that's very important because some people might climb up and may not want to share. But if you see these signs, it's okay to reach out and get the help that's needed to support that individual to live a more hopeful life as opposed to a hopeless life.
Yes. And another way that we like to have people kind of approach others who may be dealing with these types of thoughts. We, again, acronyms, we love our acronyms. It's ACE, and it stands for Ask, Care, Escort. So in the ask phase, you want to ask if they're thinking about suicide, and asking just kind of straight up like that is okay.
Are you planning on, are you intending to hurt yourself? Is that how you're feeling? Right. Where are you right now on a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being down in the dumps, ready to hurt yourself. 10 meaning you're fantastic. Where are you on that scale? So ask, and then C was to.
And then also for ask, we say active listening,
Right.
acknowledge talk. So acknowledge what they're saying and their behaviors and their feelings. We also discourage you to debate whether or not suicide is right or wrong. We tell people, do not discuss whether feelings are good or bad. Just listen, actively listen, acknowledge them, and then don't lecture them about how they feel or how they should feel. So those are
Right.
do's and don'ts. So C is care. And so we do want you to listen and then discuss and care about the issues and problems that they're having. What we say not to do, so your do's and don'ts. Your don'ts would be encourage them to do it as a test. Surprisingly, there are people who would be like, well, then why don't you just do it then if things are so bad?
Go ahead and jump then. Right. No, don't.
We're not going to act shocked, right? We're not going to act shocked. Just keep that neutral face, be very, pleasant. Don't rush to fix or cheer up the person. If someone says, yes, I am thinking about that, don't jump to, oh, but honey, you shouldn't. No, we're going to listen to them and see what they're going through first. And then don't judge or minimize the things that they're going through or their emotions, right? And then E is for escort. And this is the most important step. This is where you give them that hotline, the number that they need for a mental health professional. This is when you give them the resources. And you do it now. You don't do it later. Don't say, I'm going to get back to you on that. No.
Yeah.
Sit with them right there. Look it up if you don't know it by heart and give it to them. And then again, the don'ts is don't be sworn to secrecy. Right? This is not a secret. This isn't something that you can just ignore or put away. And then don't leave them alone no matter what they say. So even if you're like, oh, well, I have to go home right now. And they're like, yeah, I'll be fine. Don't do that. Stay with them until, you see a sort of calmness, a step forward in the, healthier direction.
Or have them connected to a professional in that area that can talk to them. And like you said, don't keep it a secret. Don't say, okay, well, fine, I won't tell your parent, or I won't tell so and so. Don't do that, because yeah.
And so and that specifically we like to say is for adults. ACE is for the adults in our lives that can help you do that. Now for youth, for children, and even mid-aged adolescents, we always just encourage them to tell or reach out to a trusted adult. This is not something that they should shoulder. They can't be that person who provides their friend with as much support as they possibly can, because the truth is, you're a child. That's something you shouldn't bear on your shoulders. Another topic that I kind of like to discuss is the difference between ratting or tattling and reporting.
Right. And maybe give the definition of those two. What does ratting out someone means versus reporting?
Ratting, this is a quoted definition. Ratting is telling on your peers when the situation is safe or the child can handle it themselves. And it usually is for bad intentions, right? So let's say there's one student sitting down and they're drawing on the desk. Your
That's why
peers,
I'm laughing because I hear this a lot. Yeah, I get this a lot.
that's ratting them out. Oh, so and so is drawing on the desk. That's ratting. This is a safe situation where no one's really going to get hurt, and the child could easily flip the pencil over, erase it themselves, right? But reporting is alerting adults of a situation or event that is unsafe. And that's usually to protect your friend, your peer, and it's typically out of concern.
Correct.
What's the difference between the two? And we always want to stick to reporting, especially with students. There's always a teacher that you can trust. There's always some administrator, somebody, a nurse even, that you feel that you can put all of your heart out to them, you know? So that is your trusted adult. And if you see that one of your friends are, or even just a person in your class might be struggling, go to that trusted adult and report it. It's not ratting, it's not tattling, it's a good thing.
Exactly. I'm not adding to it because what you're saying is spot on. And I normally would say this, but hearing another voice saying the same thing is very helpful. So thank you for, that clarity.
Yeah.
And again, we're just focusing on suicidal ideation, the warning signs. I love the acronyms, of course, and steps in how we can identify, recognize what someone might be going through, might be experiencing, providing the support that they need and the professional help that they need. And then also just, showing up those definitions of, like we just talked about, the difference between ratting someone else out and reporting. It's vital. Any other thoughts about how we can assist individuals who might need support and encouragement, who might be struggling? And what we can do is if we observe someone that might be struggling.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is just to be aware. I think a lot of people are so um, caught up in their self that they forget to look at others and to, kind of be like, hey, are you okay? You know, reaching out that helping hand. So I think that's a big one. And then also, I just wanted to give out another crisis hotline.
Sure.
It's the National Crisis Hotline Network, and that is 1-800 suicide. So that would be 1-800 784 2433. And then with the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, there's also an option to text someone, which is a great one because if you're maybe uncomfortable voicing what's going on, it might be easier to just like write it out. And so you would go to www.crisistextline.org, or you could text home to 741741.
Okay, and so all of that information is at the bottom so folks can access it. And if you're listening to this, you might have to replay it a couple of times. It's easy to go to YouTube, check out the channel, and you have it right there in print so that you can follow it as well. Wow. These are all awesome information that we need so that we can support and encourage others who might be struggling. There is a pandemic, and we keep saying this all the time, but it's true. It's not quite over yet. We're kind of getting over the hump, but people are at home quarantining, and so individuals might be alone and might feel lonely. So it doesn't hurt to just take up the phone to call just to say, hey, I'm checking in with you. How are things? What's up? Maybe something in Messenger or on Facebook, but just reach out to those that are close to you, those who you know, who you love, and find out where they are and just check, on that scale from 1 to 10, how they're doing. And you have no idea. The life that you might be saving might be someone that's close and dear to you. And also make sure that you yourself receive the support that you need and encouragement. If you're not feeling quite yourself and there's so many things that are bombarding you, life happens. There are disappointments. There are feelings of discouragements. Those are all normal and those are natural. What we don't want, and this has been shared before in other episodes, is where we get to a place where there's despair, as Annie said, where there's hopelessness. And we don't want to get to that place of despair and hopelessness. We always want to stay where there is hopefulness, because there's always hope. And once you have breath, there's opportunity. So here are these resources that Zani has shared with us. We put it out there so that you can get the assistance and the support and encouragement that you need to continue to live life to its fullest, enjoying the quality of life that you can have with support and assistance. Any last thoughts you would like to share with us, Isani, or
Yeah.
to summarize? Or
I just wanted to give a little stat to really put the importance of understanding and being aware of these different signs into perspective.
please,
So
yes.
suicide is the leading cause of death in people ages 10 to 24. But not only that, 8% of students in grades 9 through 12 attempt suicide. 17% seriously consider attempting suicide, and 13% planned about how they would commit suicide, right? So these are high percentages for youth specifically.
Correct.
And then also in the Virgin Islands right now, suicide is on a slow trend upward.
Hmm.
So death by suicide. So we just need to kind of be aware of that and talk about it more as a community. So yeah.
So I have to do a little bit of research because I'm not too sure as to the reasons contributing to the slight uptick of suicide among youths in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I'll do a little bit of research on that. I don't know if you have any information on that or not, but I'll I'll do some research and check that out.
As of 2017, there were 6-ish suicides in the US Virgin Islands. And while that is a low number, we again are a population of only about 50,000, I believe.
For St. Croix, overall with the U.S. Virgin Islands would be over 100,000. However, yeah, based upon per capita, that's a high number. If it's just one life, I mean, that's a lot. Well, thank you so much, Isani, for sharing the statistics, the information of the signs that we can look for, the symptoms, and also the resources that are out there to support individuals to ensure that they live the best quality life possible, and what we can do to provide that support. And also for ourselves, if we recognize that there's some things in our own lives that impacting us in a way that's not healthy or positive, the help that we can also receive. I've had a life coach on a number of times, and so reaching out to a life coach or reaching out to, we talked about perhaps a pastor, someone that we can trust, helps. Having a support network in place. You mentioned family. If family is that support network that you have, some people don't have that, but reach out to someone. If it's even island therapy, there are numbers that have been provided. We're throwing out lifelines to individuals who might need it at this time. And please do so, because your life matters and you are unique and important. Thank you so much, Isani, for sharing. This is Isani's last time with us in Island Therapy for season 2. The month of May ends season 2, and we'll take a slight hiatus from the recording of our podcast and having it uploaded for the summer, because there are other projects that we're working on to expand the podcast network. And so stay tuned, because I'll provide more information at another time. So we like to end the podcast by saying we have faith, we have hope, and we have love. Make sure that, love is that greatest factor. So make sure that you do love yourself and then love those who are dear and near to you. See you next time.
Thank you for joining Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon as we learned about different perspectives of contemporary social and educational issues. We hope to educate and encourage as we analyze those topics that are important to you. Please continue to join us every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, as new episodes are uploaded on your favorite podcast directory. Remember, become that positive difference that creates a positive outcome in the lives of others, as well as in your own life. See you next Sunday afternoon on Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon.